library and actually go through their microfiche, find the video, and then have it transferred to something you can look at. And today, you type into Google 1950s instructional video, and YouTube pops up, and you go, oh, and then you have a choice of like 50 different ones that you can watch, and you really take, you know, very careful notes of exactly what's it look like. Oh, the color's very desaturated, and the sound is really, really tinny, and there's all this grain and dirt running over the film, and then it shifts back and forth, and you just, you know, beat your editor until they do all of the things that you want it to do to make it look that way. So, you know, I'm very, you know, blessed because I get to help with all of these ideas, and then I tell, you know, Dave or Uni or Chad, okay, this is what you have to do, you know, in 2 days, and I'll see you then. And they stay there and they do it. So, yeah, you just, you know, again, several years ago, it was so difficult to get the resources to try and emulate something like that. And today, technology makes it so simple. Literally 5 seconds, Google, and there's all the material you want. Just that, you're going to make it look like that. And then you use the programs, you know, for editing and the plug-in effects that go over that just to give the film look.
Right on, Tim. Bobby, how's it been in Hawaii? What did you do today?
Went to Pearl Harbor.
All right. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, you know, being here also in ministry and seeing that what God has done with Life Church, how fast you've grown interstate, and with how many sites are there now?
We have 14 locations. 14
locations interstate. One of the questions that I would want to ask is, you know, your leadership in the central or home-based office. What we find is we're growing, being blessed to grow pretty fast as well. But how do you facilitate communication? Because in our breakout upstairs, one of the questions was, how do you keep so many people on the same page, especially when you're growing fast, and you're trying to disseminate the same DNA to everyone? Because if you don't, people, we've had it with campuses, you know, that they kind of go, what we say, a little sideways, you know, doing their own thing. And with all of us looking at potentially growing, what could you share with us about communication and passing on that DNA, especially when you're growing so fast and when you're spread throughout the states and you're one person and there's how many leaders out of 14 campuses? How do you guys facilitate a great communication line so that we could learn from it?
It's a great question. There's first the answer to how do you sort of keep everyone on the same page is actually communication and great communication. The way our church is structured, which is probably good to know to understand how communication works, is we have what we call a central support team, and that team is not connected to any particular campus. We office in a building that's behind one of our campuses, but we don't really have a main campus and satellite campuses or other campuses. We sort of have just campuses, and then we have a central support team. Each campus has its own staff, its own campus pastor and team, kids director. It depends on the size of the campus as to how many staff each one has. And so each ministry in our central team has someone that's leading that ministry. So it would be kids ministry or youth ministry. And each of those teams are communicating with their counterparts, whoever's responsible for that at the campus, even whether it be a part-time or full-time person. So there's an enormous amount of communication that's happening between Central and the campuses and on all the different teams throughout the entire week. And that's just kind of how it's happening via Skype calls. It's happening via telephone conference calls. We have some video conferencing stuff that we use. There's a tool called Adobe Connect. That's a tool that allows kind of sharing of what's on your computer screen along with multiple webcams in it. So each of the teams use whatever works best for their team, because some tools work better for certain groups and some tools work better for certain situations or certain size of meetings. But they have consistent communication there. We also have an all-staff meeting about every quarter, and we use our same satellite technology that we use to facilitate our live video on the weekends to have an all-staff meeting. It's usually worship. Craig delivers sort of a leadership message. A lot of our directional leadership team, which is the team I'm a part of. So it's Craig, myself, Jerry, Kevin, and Sam. The five of us will oftentimes communicate whatever is important in that particular quarter to the whole team. And then we do a number of other things that kind of go to all staff. If there's any kind of important announcement, the other day we had a change to our health insurance, the way that functions. It's sort of administrative, but it's important that everyone hears kind of clearly what the changes are, because it was going to affect several people in a not so positive way in terms of their costs. Some more expenses were going to be coming. And so we did there was actually communicate to the campus pastors about the change so they'd be prepared to communicate to their teams. We then recorded a video message. We do this a lot. We oftentimes will record saying something on video and then send an email out with a link to the video to our staff, because we find that sometimes email can be relatively impersonal for certain types of communication, and so we'll try to leverage video when we can to communicate important messages like that. So there's really multiple formats, multiple pieces, but you have to be intentional about it. And just when you think you've said something enough, you'll find that people still don't know completely, and you have to continue to communicate things, especially big changes or things that are really important.
That's amazing. See, because I'm sitting here and I'm learning, thinking, wow, that's how we can actually communicate with some of our churches on the Outer Islands via all the things that you shared. And that's what you want to pick up today, whether it's Tim saying, this is where I found that source on Google, or if it's Bobby saying, this is what we use to communicate. These are all the gems that you want to take note of, because, again, our reason for being here is not to train you on what we do and how we do it, because that would take too long, but rather to give you seeds that you can actually, resources or sources or connections, okay? Ideas. Okay, so I want to tell you, here in Hawaii, how many of you from the mainland? Okay? So here in Hawaii, we're always joking culturally. So we pick fun of each other's culture, and we do that very positively, and we have fun with it. Now, so I stand here, I'm half Chinese, I'm quarter Hawaiian, and I'm a quarter English, and so I get picked on in the church a lot about my Chinese ways. And they call it being tight, I call it being shrewd and resourceful. But anyway, the reason why I share that is this. We're talking about the internet campus, and in the beginning, when we started the internet campus, again, I'm the administrator as well, so I looked through everything by the numbers, and we thought, oh, how nice, we're going to get an internet campus. But it wasn't until the numbers came in. It's like, how much that? Like just last year, I think we closed, and we didn't go on the internet and say, you have to give, you have to contribute. At the bottom, I think there was just a button if you want to contribute.
Yeah, donate now.
Almost $400,000 in 1 year in tithes and offerings. Now I see all those eyes rolling, going, internet campus sounds better, doesn't it? But also the fact that I think our attendance, our hits on a weekend now on the internet campus, Mike, is how many?
Yeah, we get about 2,200 on
About 2,200. And so what really hit me was about 3 weeks ago. This all happened in a weekend. In the internet church, you actually walk into doors. There's a sanctuary. There's a prayer room. There's a consulting room, or what do you call that room?
It's like a
counseling room. Well, actually, what happened is our IT people are on their computers while the service is going on, and one of them, I think it was Sue, she just caught that someone said they were going to take their life. They were going to commit suicide. And just by catching that online, I think she was able to notify them. They were able to jump on with that person online and start ministering to her. I think it was at the 5 o'clock service, and they were able to speak into her life enough where she then came to the 7 o'clock service and received the Lord. And actually, what was happening is that, I guess, financially, they were going to get kicked out of their house, and she was just going to take her life. And her son and husband, I think, was worried about her. But look how the internet worked. It was just Sue Zhang just catching, wait, this person? And she wrote back to her, are you saying you're going to take your life? And how God worked through the internet, that